Rob Van Dam always looked like the chillest guy in the room, like he was 5 seconds from handing you a gummy and a DVD of Enter the Dragon. But don't let the weed smoke fool you. RVD carried real deal heat with guys who crossed him. He wasn't some mellow mark. He had a black belt in receipts and a memory like an elephant with a grudge. These weren't storyline beefs. These were real locker room tensions. And these 5, RVD didn't just dislike them, he wanted them out of his face and out of the business. Let's hit it. If there was ever a wrestler that Rob Van Dam had zero respect for, it was New Jack. And not in that agree to disagree kind of way. RVD once said, flat out, on the Steve Austin show that New Jack couldn't wrestle, didn't even know how to apply a headlock, and called his matches garbage wrestling. That's not shade, that's a forest fire. New Jack was ECW's resident chaos merchant, and RVD saw him as a walking lawsuit in cargo pants. On top of the mass transit incident, which RVD publicly criticized, he didn't hide his disgust for how New Jack treated the wrestling business. I never liked that guy. I never respected him. What he did to that kid was bullshit. Rob Van Dam, Wrestling Shoot Interview Archive 2014. This wasn't a difference in styles, it was a total absence of respect. RVD saw himself as a martial artist who respected the ring, even when diving off balconies. New Jack was out there slicing people up like he was auditioning for cops. Rob didn't just look down on his style, he saw him as a complete stain on pro wrestling. RVD said New Jack's psychology was so bad, even a steel chair refused to sell for him. It's rare for RVD to go scorched earth, but with New Jack, the joint was already lit, and Rob made sure that bridge burned all the way to the ashtray. Even after New Jack's death, RVD's tone never softened. There was no fake tribute, no we settled our differences nonsense. It stayed cold, no peace offering, no nostalgia, just the same unfiltered venom. Rob Van Dam respected plenty of outlaws, but New Jack, he never made the list. Not then, not ever. Taz strutted around ECW like he owned the ring. Short, stocky, scowling, he was the human suplex machine with a permanent chip on his shoulder and a towel over his head like a discount Mike Tyson. But Rob Van Dam wasn't impressed. He saw Taz as a bitter little bully, and RVD doesn't do bullies. He slaps them. The story's wrestling folklore now. RVD was tired of Taz's constant backstage disrespect. So one day, in front of the boys, RVD walked up to him and said, "Pick a hand." Before Taz could figure out which one, Van Dam slapped the Brooklyn right out of him. He just disrespected me constantly, so I handled it. Pick a hand, motherfucker. That wasn't tough guy posturing. That was a full-on reset button. After that, Taz never stepped to Rob again. ECW's toughest guy got turned into an ECW meme in real time. Their beef was deeper than just ego. Taz hated RVD's flashy, no-sell style. RVD thought Taz was stuck in 1988 and trying to scare people with his height deficit. Rob respected wrestling. Taz treated it like a prison yard, and Rob wasn't doing time. RVD said Taz was built like a fridge, but had the emotional range of a microwave. Even after ECW folded and they were both in WWE, RVD made it clear he tolerated Taz, but never forgot the attitude. There was no reunion hug, no mutual respect arc, just distance. That slap wasn't about power, it was about telling Taz, "I'm not scared of your tough guy act, and no one else should be either." Rob Van Dam has said flat out that Chris Jericho was one of the few guys who could get under his skin, and not in a friendly, let's grab a drink way. Jericho, the self-proclaimed Ayatollah of rock and rolla, has a talent for stealing the spotlight, and RVD was none too happy playing second fiddle. Behind the scenes, their relationship was tense because Jericho pushed hard to be the main event guy, often coming off like he thought the entire wrestling world revolved around him, which, in Jericho's head, it probably did. RVD called him a little too much sauce on the steak and always trying to shine brighter than the sun, which, let's be honest, sometimes made Jericho look like a human disco ball that forgot to check the dimmer switch. Sometimes he was more concerned about his own highlight reel than the match itself. Jericho's work ethic was undeniable, he's a grinder, but that didn't stop RVD from seeing through the ego. RVD respected skill but hated pretension, and Jericho's blend of flash and flair sometimes rubbed him the wrong way. RVD joked once that Jericho was so full of himself, he needed a GPS just to find the exit from the locker room without stopping for a selfie. Their beef wasn't violent or physical, but a collision of personalities, RVD's laid-back stoner calm versus Jericho's relentless spotlight grab. They were two sides of the same coin, but the coin had some serious scratches. Rob Van Dam and Triple H's backstage relationship was like oil and water. Except the oil was slick arrogance and the water was just trying to keep things cool without burning down the whole locker room. RVD never minced words about Triple H's ego. He said Hunter acted like the whole wrestling business was his personal chessboard, which is polite code for he treated everyone like pawns, and you better hope you weren't the one about to get sacrificed. To RVD, Triple H was the guy who spent more time practicing his evil corporate villain laugh than actually wrestling, which might explain why Hunter looked like he was constantly constipated under all that muscle. Triple H was always thinking 10 steps ahead, usually on how to screw you over. RVD admired some of Triple H's work, but that admiration quickly hit a wall when the power plays started. The Hunter, who showed up backstage, was less game and more grade A control freak, turning locker rooms into mini-kingdoms with himself as king, forcing alliances, pulling strings, and reminding everyone why politics and wrestling are often worse than the matches. RVD once joked that Triple H had the subtlety of a sledgehammer but the charm of a DMV clerk on a bad day. Basically, you knew the guy was coming for your job before you saw him, but it wasn't like he was going to say, please. Rob's laid-back, no-BS vibe clashed hard with Hunter's corporate manipulation. There was no friendship, just a cold standoff between a man who wanted to enjoy the show and a man who wanted to own it. And for Rob, that was exhausting. Rob Van Dam didn't just dislike Shawn Michaels. He saw him as the ultimate backstage scumbag, the guy who mastered the art of playing friend while sharpening knives behind your back. HBK was the original Mr. Charisma, but to RVD, that charm came with a side of two-faced venom. Rob called Michaels a walking soap opera, the kind of guy who could smile at you like a brother while plotting your career's slow death. If there was a backstage power play, Michaels was always in the mix, sometimes the puppet master, sometimes the puppet, but always looking out for number one. And spoiler, it wasn't you. He had the gift of gab, but he also knew exactly how to use it, to cut you down without anyone hearing the blade. RVD hated how Shawn played the locker room favorite, but kept the real venom under wraps, making enemies while everyone else saw the shiny performer. It was like watching a wolf in sequins, showy, flashy, but with teeth sharp enough to bite the hand feeding him. RVD once joked that Shawn could sell tickets with a wink, but could also sell you out with the same grin. He wasn't just the showstopper in the ring, he was the plot twist no one saw coming. Their relationship was a careful dance, forced smiles, fake pats on the back, and silent wars. Shawn was the backstage Houdini, disappearing when things got real, only to reappear with a smile and a dagger in hand. For RVD, Shawn Michaels was proof that wrestling isn't just about what happens in the ring, it's about surviving the snakes in the locker room. Rob Van Dam's list isn't just about personal grudges, it's a roadmap of wrestling's backstage chaos. These aren't friendly rivalries over who sells more merch. These are real clashes, sharp as a steel chair shot, fueled by egos bigger than their biceps and attitudes thicker than their spray tans. In RVD's world, respect isn't handed out like participation trophies. It's earned in the ring and backstage silence. But when you mix a wild card like him with egos desperate to be kings, queens, or court jesters, the result is a powder keg waiting for a spark. There's no best friends forever in these stories, just cold shoulders, smirks behind backs, and that constant tension you could slice with a folding chair. RVD's legacy isn't just his flips and kicks, it's the fact he never backed down from the drama, never sugarcoated the truth, and never let the locker room bullies win. If wrestling taught him one thing, it's this: you either fight your way through the smoke or get burned by the flames. And RVD, he's still standing, even if the battlefield is littered with broken egos and shattered friendships. If you like this beatdown of egos and exposed receipts, hit that like button like it owes you money. Subscribe for more real-deal wrestling drama. No scripts, no sugarcoating, just shoot interviews turned savage. We're digging up grudges, lighting up legends, and serving receipts colder than catering lasagna. Stay tuned, stay sharp, and bring a steel chair. You're gonna need it.